Yes, yeah. Thank you, Daryl. I'm Vivian Tian from the protocol testing team of Microsoft. Today I will give you an introduction of the CBAC scenario and our test suite against the CBAC. You may be a little curious about this CBAC and what it is. In fact, actually, many people use DAC, dynamic access control. So don't be so complex. Yeah. Okay. This is the agenda today. First, I will give you a very quick and short CBAC introduction because Dave has an impressive presentation about this just now, and I will focus on our test suite design for the CBAC and also our how to run our CBAC test suite during the Plugfest. If you have any question, and you can stop me at any time, and also the last session, QA session, is also okay. Okay, let's have a look at the CBAC introduction, and I will be very quickly. So CBAC is short for the claim-based access control, and it uses the claim to make a decision of access control of a resource. Claims, there are three types of claim: user claim, device claim, and resource property. Resource property is also be named as a resource claim, just Dave has mentioned before. All the claims are defined in our ADDS. With these claims, and we can build up some expression, and then build up an central access rule. This rule, I'm sorry. Okay. We can build up an central access rule. This rule will specify the access condition to some resource, such as only user in finance department can access some resource. That's that. And the next concept is the central access policy. This policy will include that rule, that central access rule, and also resource property. It means what kind of resource will be applied with this central access policy. So this picture you must be very familiar with. With the CBAC and a resource access control will be determined by three factors: share permission, NTFS permission, and central access policy. And the central access policy is not to replace the traditional access control, but another add up for some security considerations. So I should thank Dave very much because he has explained all of this very clearly. Yeah, thank you. Okay, here I will show a very simple workflow for how the CBAC works. First, in the domain environment, we will define some user claim, device claim first, and the user and our client computer will get the claim information with Kerberos communication message. And also there are some resource property and central access policy defined in our AD. The file server can get the central access policy and the resource property proactively. And alternatively, our AD can falsely publish the central access policy and resource property to all of the server in the domain. So the environment is ready, and the user will attempt to access a resource on the file server. For a very typical scenario, and our user will carry on some claims during the access request. The file server will compute the user claims information against its own central access policy, and then return the access denied or access granted response to our client. That's the whole workflow. So is there any questions? Okay, great. Thank you, Dave, again. Okay, based on the CBAC concept, and I will go on with our team's work. Our team is for the protocol testing. We have designed some test suites for the CBAC testing. Here is our test suite scope. We have several documents. The first one, I recommend everyone to read about the MS AZOD because it's an overview for all of the authorization protocols. And it has introduced the MS CAL, PAC, CTA, MS SFU, MS IAA, etc. All of them are very useful for you understanding CBAC clearly. For this document, we have a MS AZOD test suite. It is designed to test the KDC and application server roles. The second document is MSIA. This protocol is a new protocol. It's branded new for Windows 8. This protocol is short for Remote Authorization API Protocol. It's just some API you need to support it on the file server. With this API supported, we can perform the queries on remote computer. I mean, if the file server has supported, and I can do the queries on my client computer. That means remotely. So we have developed MSIA test suite to test against the application server. And also MSCAL, MSPAC, we have Kerbal test suites. This has been introduced by my colleague Gu Qing in this morning. And the last one, the fourth is MS SFU. This is another Kerbal's extension. This protocol is very useful when you have a down-level scenario. And they also mentioned that if your client is a down-level scenario and the server will retrieve the ticket from KDC on behalf of your client users. So we still have MS SFU test suites to test our server. Okay, based on these documents and scope, we have designed some test scenarios. The first one is compound identity. This scenario is designed for the Windows 8 Plus clients. They've also mentioned that only the Windows 8 and Plus clients can support the compound identity. And second scenario is down-level scenario. We also call it as SFU. The third one is claim transformation. This scenario is in the cross-realm environment. I will explain them one by one. First, compound identity. As I mentioned, this is designed for the V8 Plus clients. And also, our AD and file server need to be Windows 2012 Plus. We have designed some cases based on user claim, device claim, and also some resource properties. If you want to test the compound identity, and these test suites are available, MSIA, AZOD, Kerbals, all have some coverage for the compound identity. This is the message sequence and workflow. Our user is working on a Windows 8 Plus client. It will get the user and device claim information, including some group information, in the Kerbal's communication with KDC. And then with these claims, the user will try to access the file server. This file server is also CBAC aware. And we can see here the service ticket has involved some device user claim information and group information. Our file server will compute the claim information against its own central access policy and give a correct response. This is a very typical scenario. Any question for this scenario? Okay, yes. Yeah, we use SMB2. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So David's question about why is access remediation, right? And What is it message? Is it SMB2? My answer is yes. And we only test the SMB2 in our test suite. Yeah, so thank you. Okay, next scenario is the down-level scenario, and there are some difference between the compound identity. Our client is required for the pre-Windows 8 clients. In fact, this environment is more normal in current situation because many clients may didn't upgrade to the Win 8 or later. So we support these scenarios for more coverage. And the file server will get user claims on behalf of the user. This all the process is described in the MS SFU. And our available test suites is AZOD and SFU test suites. So if you have any interest on SFU, and we can run these test suites, and also you can find me for some question. Yes. Similarly, here is here is a workflow for the SFU, and our client is pre-Windows 8 client. As usual, it get during the Kerbals message sequence, and here user can only get user groups information, but there's no claims information because client doesn't support. So. And so if there's no claims in the service ticket, the file server, the files, if only we compute this information against the central access policy, and we can get a conclusion that the response may be wrong. So the file server will turn to the KDC to get the user claim information instead of user. So with this response, with this information, and our file server will respond a correct response. Yeah, this is what we call SFU. Any questions? Okay, let's go on. And the third scenario is the claim transformation scenario. These scenarios require our DC should be Windows 12 and Windows 2012 plus, and also file server. It should be in a cross-RAM environment, and there should be cross-RAM trust. One side is okay. One side is okay. So both sides is better. Yeah. So there also we need the claim transformation policy defined on one of the DC, so that the KDC can transfer the claim according to this policy. All of the details are described in MS CTA, and we have MS AZOD to cover part of these scenarios. This is the environment, and we can see the two KDCs are Windows 8, Windows 2012 plus, and also there is a claim transformation policy deployed in the cross-RAM KDC. And we require a trust between the two KDC. If the client wants to access this file server, the file server, it needs to get a referral ticket from its own KDC. In this referral ticket, there is some claim information because the client Windows 8. With the referral ticket, and client will turn to the cross-RAM KDC. Here, because the two domains may have different claim definition, so the second KDC need to do a claim transformation according to the MSCTA document explained, and then it will return the service ticket to the client with new claims informations wrapped in the Kerbals message. With this claim informations, and the cross-realms file server can get a correct response, can reply a correct response to our client. So this is cross-realm scenarios. So the MSCTA is short for the claim transformation algorithm. It's an algorithm. So if you want to know the details about how the claim is transferred from one domain to another, and you can refer to that document for more details. So that's very helpful. Yeah. So any question for this scenario? Okay. Thank you, because I'm also hungry. Yeah. Okay. So we have designed the 3 scenarios to try to coverage more scenarios in our real environment. And also you mentioned that we have you noticed that we have many test suites for different scenarios. I will pick one of them to for later explanation. And I pick up the MS AZOD for introduction. This is the MS AZOD environment. In fact, for convenience, I just select the single RAM environment. In fact, our MS AZOD is a cross RAM environment. I just pick half of it for introduction. Yes. This is the environment. We have a KDC application server and a driver computer. And also we have installed the MMA to capture all the traffic on the wire. And our test suite will be deployed to the driver computer. Our case can drive the driver computer, access application server, and also there are messages between KDC and the driver computer because Kerberos message, it should contact KDC. So our message analyzer will capture all of these messages. Among all the endpoints, and then the message sequence will be as an input of our test case. According to our protocol spec, and we have some expected traffic frames. We will validate the real message against our protocol spec, and finally there will be a test report be generated. So this style, we just call it as observer. It's a little different with synthetic client style. It's a little different because our input is traffic, not some we send the messages. Yeah, it's a little different with synthetic client. So any questions about this style, observer style? Maybe it's a little new to you all, yeah. Okay, but although it's new, but it's very easily to understand. So if no question, I will go on with how to run our test suite, how to use our CBAC test suite. I also pick MS AZOD as an example. We need to install our test suites at the beginning. We will provide the MSI, just a double click, and it will be installed to your local drive. And here is the installation folder. After the installation done, and you need to configure our test suites. There is a deployment.ptf config file. Many properties need to be modified according to your own environment, such as KDC domain name and KDC name. Yeah, it depends on your own environment. And next, you can run the test suite. You can pick to run the batch files directly. Also, if you are familiar with Visual Studio, and you can open the solution in Visual Studio and run it. And finally, if the test finished, then and I have mentioned that there is a test report, and you can here's an example, and it passed. It's green. And here, and you can see some details. The expected message, the first expected message is SME2 negotiation message. And here, and also, there's a message frame number. So it is very useful for you to find the exactly message in the all capture file. So yeah, we will list the report one by one. If there are something different with protocols, we will give a warning. We will not fail you, but just a warning. Yeah. Okay, so any question about how to run our CBAC test suite? Okay, good. Seems it's very easily.